tid. Ching chang ching lutilej. Omkring ham dalede sneen hvid. Ching chang ching lutilej.
Welcome to This Week in Our Collective Heads. This is the topic of the episode show, where we introduce a topic on Friday or Saturday if I forget to do it Friday, and we discuss it with the community, with our fans, with people who know us and have opinions.
Yeah.
So our topic this week is favorite licensed property. So something that was not originated in video games, but was brought to video games and created a thing. So... this week we're going to talk about those, and we had a number of responses, and so there were a couple that were about Star Wars. I think we had TIE Fighter, we had
so TIE Fighter and Rogue Squadron,
which
both taking the cake on that. Now I wanted to say Shadows of the Empire, So I wanted to say that
at the time.
I honestly wanted to say, well, TIE Fighter and Rogue Squadron are before Shadows of the Empire.
Right.
But for Shadows of the Empire, when I wanted to say that, but I feel like it comes into a gray area because Star Wars itself is is the other property.
Right.
Except that Shadows of the Empire was purposely a multimedia project that came out on all formats at the same time. So I can't really... It's not based on a book. I guess Star Wars itself would
I thought Shadows of the Empire was a book.
Shadows of the Empire was a book, a comic book, and a video game, and they were all worked on together.
Right. But it's taking specifically the Timothy Zahn section of like the thing that he was introducing, because they referenced General Thrawn and stuff.
Well, yeah, but that's EU stuff. All Star Wars will reference that.
Okay, but I thought that this was specifically highlighting the best parts of that. I could be wrong.
It was a project where they had all at the same time in development. Mm-hmm. They had a book, a comic book series, and a video game that was all being like spearheaded by Lucasfilm at like on all sides.
That's pretty cool.
So instead of being like, oh, that book was really good that we liked, let's do a video game.
Okay.
Like the book was being written, they'd already come up with the story and then given it to each.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I also like the while we're on that topic, I like the Super Star Wars and Super Return of the Jedi. Super Empire Strikes Back, not so much. But I liked the Super Nintendo games on that one, and then TIE Fighter and X-Wing. Those were really good flying simulators, and they did a really good job because this was shortly after Descent, and so they had managed to figure out how to telescoping, because up to that point, even if you were fighting in space, like you'd never come up against Star Destroyer upside down.
Yeah.
And so it was really fun to get to roll a little bit. I like that.
One of the ones that came up to me was Spider-Man. Actually, specifically, I think Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, Alex Kern mentioned that.
Because I would say another one, the Genesis Maximum Carnage would be another one that fits the bill. But yeah, Alex was spot on with Spider-Man 2. That was... to be able to roam around the city, to have these random events happening, to continue on the story. Right at the cusp of when open world gaming, they took the Grand Theft Auto formula and put Spider-Man in it.
Yeah.
And it's really great stuff. Yeah, so Alex Wooten mentioned Back to the Future 2 on the Super Nintendo, which I never played.
Yeah, he said it was only released in Japan.
Yeah.
So I think I might have to dig up a ROM of that one and just find out what that is.
So TMNT 4 Turtles in Time, it was Turtles in Time came out on Genesis. Was it just Super Nintendo or Genesis?
It was also Super Nintendo.
So one of their it's called something else on the other platform.
Oh, really?
I'll have to look into that. Yeah, because one of them came out on one of them came out on another, and it's almost the same game.
So it's like an Aladdin situation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
It's
very much like an Aladdin situation. Yeah.
The TMNT arcade game was also one of the best multiplayer beat 'em ups. That one and X-Men were really fantastic to play in arcades and get in there. And Turtles in Time sometimes cycles through at the free play in Richardson.
Yeah.
And so I love it playing that. We also had Knights of the Old Republic.
Yes.
And you played Star Wars Galaxies for a while too, right?
I played Galaxies, which I think Galaxies was probably one of the most faithful adaptations of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And mostly because of the community. and the way that they structured their MMO, you had a ton of open, empty space, which made perfect sense if you're on Tatooine or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're going to have a ton of open space. And to be able to travel to these places, have a bunch of open space, and then every now and then see you have cities, but every now and then you see a player's house. And you have these communities that would hang out in cantinas, and it was really amazing.
They had like bands, because like you could specialize in certain instruments, and like there were like actual bands that would be like, hey, we'll be playing Saturday night at whatever, and it's like that is amazing and awesome. Yeah. And the freedom that they gave people to do that, and then one of the other really cool things about that particular version is that for like the first year. Yeah. The level of difficulty to become a Jedi was like
it was for
absolutely top end.
I want to say it was for the first 3 or 4 years. It was impossible, and it was. I've seen conflicting reports about this.
Okay.
So I'm curious if anyone knows the definitive vanilla way to become a Jedi, because there were conflicting reports of it being almost like you had to do specific encounters and have specific things happen in the game in order for it to start the quest line. But at the same time, other people who like played the game for years and did almost everything you could do said they never got it. So I don't know exactly how it happened, but they wanted to limit the amount of Jedi, which I think is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, and no, not everybody gets to be a Jedi, and that's one of the interesting things about the particulars of Star Wars is we all want to play the hero or whatever. But the fact is that the universe created by Star Wars is much grander than simply what the movies focus on. Because the movies are always focusing on the Jedi and the high end Empire versus the Rebellion and things like that. I really like Star Wars when it goes into more nuanced sections. Like there's a book called Lost Stars. Yeah, it's amazing, and it follows a graduating troop class. It's like the ROTC of the Star Wars universe, and so they graduate to become officers, but like they have to earn that, and so they're seeing these things, they're hearing about the rebellion and everything, and for them, like they have some qualms with some of the way that the Empire does something, but a lot of them come from like impoverished worlds where the Empire came in and was able to build them into a burgeoning member of society, and they were able to implement them into the larger, basically bring them into the fold and allow them to prosper in ways that they couldn't before the Empire, simply because they didn't have the infrastructure. And that's one of the things that I'm really looking forward to with Battlefront 2. Yeah. Because he will absolutely do that. Yeah,
and I am too. But I miss that aspect because you had in Galaxies you had people who, they'd get groups together that was all Imperial, kind of like the 501st does when it comes to cosplay. Yeah, you'd have people that met up, and you had these clans within the game, and it was like, okay, we're all Imperial, and you had ranks within the guild that were all like that, but they would have these amazing group shots of their meetings, or they would pose like kind of like a company photo kind of thing, where they would have all these people posing, and if someone you'd have a handful of walkers like on the sides, maybe in the back, they'd pose like in front of a big monument, and you had the variety of stormtroopers and scout troopers and Imperial guards and like all that. It was really cool. And it's one thing that the Old Republic MMO didn't have. The Knights of the Old Republic, obviously it's an RPG, you're following a specific story. Right. But the Old Republic, it's like everybody's Jedi. And you could be other stuff, but literally half your population.
If you could be a Jedi, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, bounty hunters are cool. Smugglers, I guess, are cool. But then you had like the Imperial officer, kind of Sith officer, whatever they called it, and I was like, I'm sure it's great balance wise, but like everyone wants to be. I want to be a Sith Lord or whatever. So. I miss that camaraderie in regards to Galaxies. That I think it was probably the best one in regards to that.
Yeah.
Jedi Starfighter 2 was also another great Star Wars game, and the Jedi Knight series. I loved Dark Forces.
Dark Forces was fantastic.
Absolutely love Dark Forces. Jedi Knight, Dark Forces 2 was, I think, the pinnacle. After that, I mean, Jedi Academy, and there's some good games as well, but Jedi Knight had a great balance of the worlds, the very Doom-esque, and Dark Forces-esque worlds, underworld. You also, in Jedi Knight, you were essentially going up the ranks and fighting these Sith apprentices, and going up the ranks to fighting all these different lightsaber battles. So it was really fun.
So the Star Wars has been historically pretty good for like a very long time, and I still wish we'd been able to get Star Wars 1313.
I really do. Another great example of this is the Lego games.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They have the ability to pull in all these properties, and like those games are consistently fun, and you can play them with your kids. You can do whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And like because the art is a little bit simpler than if they were doing like a full 3D model of everything. The rosters are enormous. Like you unlock like I think it's like 60 something characters in Marvel Superheroes 1, and then they're putting more into Marvel Superheroes 2. It's going to be awesome.
And it translates well with Star Wars, with Indiana Jones. Harry Potter I didn't think did that great, but that was just the way they did the game, in my opinion. It was an okay game, but the Lego, everything translates really well to make a toy version of it to go to Lego.
Yeah.
So then you can just kind of branch off from there. I think it's genius.
Yeah. Like I said earlier in the conversation, licensed games were traditionally terrible, and a lot of times they try to like squeeze it in and be like, this one's coming out with the movie, and like mobile games and whatever. I feel like Christian Michaels mentioned the Arkham series, and that kind of set the bar a lot higher.
I like Telltale as well, but Arkham said it.
That wasn't tied into any particular release. It was just, hey, here's a version of Batman that you haven't seen. And I feel that like if the Arkham series had never come out, Insomniac might have been pushed or pressured to do Spider-Man, something with the MCU and make it fit and put Tom Holland in as whatever. And they haven't.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about that coming out. Yeah. And I mean,
I'd love for him to voice it. I mean, personally, I'd love for him to voice it.
That would be cool.
Because, like, okay, you can have something completely not tied into it, but have him voice it would be really great.
But like the Arkham series, I mean, it changed combat in video games like on a large scale. That is now the standard for combat because they finally nailed what it's like.
Stealing Assassin's Creed's combat. Stealing it and making it better, but
and making it so much better. And then Assassin's Creed stole it back, and like this collaboration, unofficial collaboration, where the people who are making the games are playing other games and being like, let's do that. Yeah. Let's introduce that, and that's
Shadow of Mordor and so many other games are taking that.
It's the beautiful thing about the unofficial collaboration, and that's why I love events where they have like devs meeting up, where like this dev is a fan of this dev, and then she's also a fan of his work, and like that kind of like mutual starstruck.
Yeah.
Those are really fun to see.
Oh, yeah.
So those are the licensed games that we've seen, that we've enjoyed, played throughout the years. So let us know in the comments what your favorite one is, and we'll
see you guys later.